another podcast, Baby Loss. Today I'm in having a nice talk with Samia. Samia responded to my question about telling her story, and she's the proud mom of three children. The first pregnancy was with a beautiful girl. She only lived 3 days, and her name was Talia Jasmin. And what is very nice for me is that my first pregnancy was a miscarriage, and I named her Yasmin as well. So that's a connection. So welcome in the podcast, Samia. We are going to talk about your beautiful daughter TJ, what you also wrote in the information. So thank you for being my guest in this podcast.
You're welcome, and thank you so much, Desiree, for having me and for sharing your story as well.
Yeah. Women all around the world. That's why I also started the international podcast. So hopefully, in a few months, people all around the world will come to me to tell their stories because everybody has to feel that it's not only a native thing, but it's a worldwide thing. And what we had in our introductions chat, we love to talk about our children, and the outside world thinks after a while, oh well, it's gone, it's forgotten, but for us they are remain every time. So, and they also haven't given us a lot of special things. You mentioned some. Could you please tell us what is the most precious thing TJ gave to you?
She completely opened my soul. Soon after she had, I switched off her life support machine. So I went to give, I went into labor naturally. I was 9.5 centimeters dilated for too long, and I was given an emergency cesarean. I lived in Hong Kong at the time. And actually, funnily enough, 3 weeks before I went into labor, I did have a dream that it was all going to go wrong. But sometimes they say to you, oh, don't pay any attention to your dreams before you give birth because they can often just be, hormonal. But I had a dream, and yeah, I was like, okay, I think this isn't going to work out. Anyway, parked that thought. It didn't work out. She was on life support machine. They resuscitated her after 20 minutes and put her on a life support machine. And on the third day, they said, Mrs. Samia, you need to make a decision. You can keep her on life support in a vegetative state, or you can switch her off. And I said, well, that's not it's not a difficult decision to make, because a vegetative state on a life support machine is no life. But I will be, as her mother, I will take the responsibility of switching off her machine. And I did. And one of the most beautiful things that happened was a very close friend of mine who I had traveled to Hong Kong with. She was sitting on an empty beach on the island that we lived in Hong Kong. And at the time that I switched off Jasmine's life support machine, she was surrounded by the smell of jasmine flowers for
Really?
about an hour as she sat alone on an empty beach with no jasmine bushes anywhere near her. And it was a really quite a big beach area. So even if there had been a jasmine bush like way at the back,
Okay.
no way you would have been smelling it, on a still day. But she was surrounded by the scent of jasmine. How beautiful is that? So that was the first.
That's in the
Uh,
coincidence, is it?
no, absolutely not. Also, my mother had come over, and funnily enough, a very good friend of hers had also said to her, Ingrid, don't be surprised if your granddaughter isn't there to meet you. So she'd come over with this, intuition as well. Anyway, I soon after, I had a dream which really showed me that she opened my soul to the gold that we have within our selves. Some people follow religion, faith, some people have no faith. I talk about a lot the spiritual connection and that heart space and the soul. And And in this dream, it really showed me that there is gold within. And the poet Rumi, most people know his line, "Our wounds are where the light gets in." And truly, she came, she saw, and she conquered, and she opened my heart to beauty. Really did. Even though at the time, of course, I went through a wild phase of grief and trauma, which is, of course, perfectly normal. Um,
It is, yeah.
yeah,
So the first time after baby loss, um, there's a lot of grief and trauma and crying and
yeah,
helplessness, and you don't know what to do, and you're screaming, you're yelling, why me, why me? But
yeah,
then you come to a stage that you can see the beauty of it.
yeah,
And it sounds very weird that you say the beauty of baby loss, but it is if you can see it, and you have
yeah,
seen it.
yeah, I did. And I had another dream about her where, I really, where I say opened my soul to the gold, I have such a faith in eternal life and what happens to the onward journey of the soul when our physical body dies and returns to the earth that sustains us. And in this particular dream, I walked into this incredible a sort of specialist consultant's office in this beautiful building, which was a hospital. And it was very luxurious there. Lovely oxbow leather sofas and a
Hmm.
beautiful big wooden old walnut desk with leather on the top. And the doctor, this consultant specialist, was sitting there with this light on his face and looking at me as I sat down next to him. And my daughter was standing over his left shoulder, and she was standing next to him, and she had grown sort of accordingly.
Hmm.
And he he said to me, "Well, we do you have any questions?" And I said, "Well, how is she doing?" And she said, "She's absolutely fine here. She's having a brilliant time. She's loving where she is, and she wants you to know that you don't have to worry about her at all, and she loves you."
Yeah, that's also what I ask my clients because I'm coaching women with baby loss. Have you ever thought about that their children who are not here, who had gone, also love us? And then they all start to cry because they even don't even think about it. But
Yeah.
there's a love connection both sides and both ways.
Yep, absolutely. And honor that and know that your child will love you. And it's beautiful to know that you have a heavenly angel who is still connected with you, and who, when I eventually meet my end, she'll be there to greet me. And then another another time, her numbers, she was born on the 9th and she died on the 11th, and her numbers often come up. And whenever I see her numbers, I'm sort of in tune with her. Um, but there was another really powerful dream I had when my second child was born, my first son. He was given the name Yahya by a Sufi, a holy man, Naqshbandi Sufi called Sheikh Nazim. And he named my son while I was pregnant. I didn't know that I was even going to have a son. I was 6 or 5 months pregnant at the time. And I'd opted not to have scans or anything with my next two children.
So you just wanted to
And
be surprised what it was, a boy or a girl. It didn't matter as long
yeah,
as it
I didn't want
lived.
that unnecessary, what I considered unnecessary interference of a very natural process.
Yeah.
Um, so So he said, "Oh, Yahya, Yahya." And I'm thinking, "Oh, that's an interesting name. I've not heard this name before. Sounds like a girl's name. I'm not sure about this name." Anyway, left it there. And then one night, I had a beautiful dream, and I was in the road. My daughter, Talia Jasmin, was standing on the pavement, and our hands were together. So our hands were sort of like this, and we were facing each other, but she was looking right over this shoulder. And as she said his name, repeated his name, her eyes grew brighter, and the smile on her face and the joy and the love that poured out from her as she was like, yeah, 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 over and over and over and over again. And I was like, oh my God. It was, oh, I still feel it now. I feel that. And that was, well, he's 27 now. So that dream would have been almost 28 years ago. And I still feel that energy of her. Yeah. So I decided, I woke up the next morning, I said to my husband, oh, by the way, yeah, he's definitely Yahya. Talia came to say, you know, she can't wait to meet her. She's really looking forward to Yahya arriving.
Then you really can feel the love, but also that the soul connection is there. And
Yeah.
if you truly believe in this kind of things,
Yeah.
it gives so much power and so much strength to go forward in
And
your life
and peace
as
and
well. Yeah.
knowing and trust,
And fear will go away because you know
Yeah.
there's something bigger, much bigger.
Right? Yeah, there's something much bigger than all of us.
Yeah.
And on the whole, people need to consider whether it's baby loss or your parents or your own
Boss.
the finality of life. We need to talk more about death and dying and the onward journey. Anyway, I'm sad for people who really are afraid of dying or don't have that faith or knowing that there is, you know, we're spirits in a body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
We're not,
yeah,
it's the other way round. This little bit, you're born, you live, you die. This is short. The rest is very long.
exactly.
It's
And since my
temporary.
children
Yeah.
has died, I'm not afraid of going to die because I know they're waiting for me. And
Ah,
as long as I'm here
yeah.
in on earth, well, they walk along with me. They are in my hands.
Yeah.
Well, don't really because they're
Amazing.
19 and 20 this year, but
Oh,
for just for my feeling that they're walking along with me in my life, and Jasmine as well. You say Jasmine, I say Jasmine in Dutch, but um, they are there always, and
mm,
well, they are giving you the power, the strength to move forward, and well,
mm.
I don't know how it's for you, but I cannot think about a day not talking about my children.
Oh, bless you. Yes. And I mean, your story is really, I hadn't quite realized that all three of your beautiful children were sort of in and out in the blink of an
Yeah.
eye, let's say.
And they say, "Hi, mom, here I am," and they left.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, that's what
Yeah,
happened.
because
But
they didn't need to do so much. You have to live and look what you're doing with your
yeah, I
trauma.
have to go through this to do
Yeah.
what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So that's why I
It,
also want to talk to women all around the world because we have to feel this is a worldwide thing.
yeah.
And do you feel after all these years, because this year is already 32 years that TJ,
Yeah.
Talia Jasmin, left you, came and said goodbye. Is she still around you every day or very often?
I I tune into her just, she'll pop up in my thoughts, or like I said, when I see her numbers come up and things like that. So she's part of our life. And I honor the connection and the existence of her soul. And she has, my husband has a stepdaughter, and my boys have a stepsister.
Yeah.
So, she's part of the family always. And yeah.
But besides that, does she also give you strength and power and to energy to do things which are extraordinary than just a normal life?
No, I think you know, it all of the loss that's come. So I've buried both my parents, they've gone now. And yeah, even when my mum was sort of dying, my mum died from colon cancer, so we had time to prepare for the inevitable, we knew she was dying, yeah.
Mhm.
And I was with my mum when she died. I was had just ordered some takeaway food. She was at the hospice. I'd ordered some takeaway food. I'd ordered a Chinese delivery, and it cost £11 exactly, which was all the money I had in my wallet. Exactly that money. And she died on the 11th of the 11th. And
Talia as well.
no, my daughter
Yeah.
died on the 11th of the 11th. And it was just incredible how various other little things had made me realize that my mum was dying that evening and I was going to be with her and Talia was going to be waiting for her.
And that gives so much, yeah, power, but also so much love and so much
It gives you
rest,
peace. It gives
peace.
you
Yeah,
peace. And, it doesn't, you're going to be emotional. The loss is huge. You love a person and suddenly they're not there. And actually, with my mum, for instance, the only time I get really sad if I think about my mum is the fact that she knew she was dying of cancer. And you'd go and spend the day with her and then leave her alone sitting on her sofa. I mean, knowing that that's the bit that would make me sad. But my mum's faith in the onward journey of the soul, and my dad's too, it's just so beautiful and powerful. And even my mum, she said, listen, when you bury me, I want you to celebrate my life. I want you to be full of joy because I will be full of joy on the other side. And we were actually my mother's funeral directors. So my mother's body, we picked her up from the hospital, the hospice, and she was in her bamboo coffin that she had chosen. She was in the back of my car. And I drove her down to the burial ground and we did the ceremony and the celebration of life. And she was buried in a natural woodland burial ground, which I highly recommend to everyone. It's such a beautiful way to be buried because a tree that grows well in that soil, in that area, is what is planted on the grave. No headstones, nothing, just a tree. And my mum's tree is producing fruit now, and my dad's tree will eventually produce fruit as well. He's a hazel and my mum was a crab apple. Anyway, but mum said, don't be doing any slow driving as you drive down to the down to the burial ground. I want you to put your foot down and drive drive as fast as you possibly can. And all this stuff. So we made it light. It was fun. It was light-hearted. It was deep, and it was meaningful. And it can be both. And actually, what you're doing and what I've done since, they call it post-traumatic growth. So you grow from the trauma. You take that trauma and grow from it and turn it into something positive because there is often a silver lining. Now, we're fortunate, we are here, we're not in a war zone, we're not being,
exactly.
but so we
We're
are
free. We can do everything, and
able to talk about our loss in this way. It's
yeah,
an entirely different thing if, for instance, you might be in a mother in Gaza and your baby, let's so we're not going to bring that whole topic into this lovely podcast. However, I'm just saying there are different scenarios. But
yeah,
when I came back after Talia, Jasmine, I came back and the doctors in London sent me for some bereavement counselling. And I went and I sat with uh, a couple who were in their early 60s when their only son, aged 21, with his whole life ahead of him, was killed in a motorcycle accident. And they were too old to have more children. And it was this, and I had obviously been grieving and emotional and wild and crazy. And I didn't
yeah.
realize
All the
I had an
emotions that
overactive
come along with,
thyroid had
yeah,
kicked in. This problem had kicked in. So my grief response was even wilder. And I was this crazy bitch from hell with the overactive thyroid. I was in a complete, what the hell is going on here?
yeah,
But their story put my loss into perspective
exactly.
over a cup of tea and a biscuit, and they shared their loss. And I just went, oh my God, how do you cope with that? And, what was I, 24 at the time? Anyway, I was young. I can go on to have more children, which I did. They couldn't. So the loss, you put it into their story put my loss into such perspective, and I'm very grateful to that lovely couple um, for the time that they gave me, and it did make my grief and bereavement process calmer
Yeah.
and more easy to
Accept,
accept.
and to set in.
Yeah,
And also, it's not that it's some you have to talk about worse, or
yeah.
even more worse, or
No, I
the
know.
most horrible thing that happened.
Yeah,
But some stories, if you meet people, but you say it gives you another perspective why you really can start breathing again,
yeah,
even though you feel very sad or lost or whatever. All the emotions that come along with baby loss. And
yeah.
of course, the loss of your baby is the most horrible thing you ever have to deal with. But it
Yes,
also can, if you can
it is.
see the other side, what you do and what I do, is it gives you so much more in life than only the negative things. And
Yeah.
that's also probably haven't met those all the people. That there was also a reason why you meet people.
Mm. And share the story.
Exactly. And if
Yeah,
you're open to listen, to truly listen, and not only, well, listen, but really listen and listen between the lines, you
mm,
can get so much information, but also so much power and strength for everything. So you can move
yeah,
on with your life. So I probably, that's an assumption, but you probably was grieving differently after you have talked to that person, to that couple.
yeah. Absolutely, they
Yeah.
really did
They opened
show.
your eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, it opened my eyes.
Yeah.
And you know, and then you hear other people's stories, and then I speak to some women who've had miscarriages or traumas of their own, and they're finding it very, very, very difficult to live with it. They're it's really giving them problems sort of mentally, and depression, and things
Yeah.
like that. And um that's tough. And
Yeah, but it's not
some
the meaning of baby loss.
yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah,
meaning of baby loss is that you learn from what happens and that you, because of the loss of your baby, what you have found, what I found, you found your gold because you have
yeah,
this really soul connection.
yeah. And I think, sh- there's two things. We're here to learn on earth, but we're also here to remember our connection to our source. And baby loss helps you to remember your connection to the source of life.
Yeah, and that's a completely different perspective because well, what we learn in this world, you have to grieve, you have to mourn, you have to be sad, you have to all the negative things. But if you come to a stage that you can turn it around to a positive thing, I think
Mm,
then you're really the world is yours.
mm, yeah.
Is that
So
what your girl has taught you?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the 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 way she just the feeling of love when I think of her is always there. It's
Mm.
it's like you're washed and bathed in this sweet, soft light, and there's nothing more beautiful than that feeling.
Oh. And your favorite smell is jasmine, probably.
Yeah, and do you want to know something funny? I
Tell
can't
me.
grow I can't grow a jasmine. I can't Every time I've bought a jasmine plant,
Yeah,
it's died.
really? Why? What
Don't
happened?
know. I don't know. Look, I have plants behind me. They're really healthy, my house plants. I can
Yeah,
grow vegetables, all
yeah.
sorts. I plant a jasmine, dies. I've done it several times, and I've stopped buying jasmine plants now.
There's a meaning why because she probably want you to have a jasmine plant, but she just wants to
I
be
don't
there.
know.
She wants to
Yeah.
be on
Yeah.
stage instead of a
She's
plant cut and
Yeah, she's in
renamed
my
after her.
heart. Not actually. In Hong Kong, it, she was cremated. I would never be cremated. I wouldn't recommend cremation to anyone. I prefer the idea that my entire body will, decompose naturally back into the earth that has
Yeah.
given me life, and my, that's what I want for me. However, her ashes were placed into, we buried them in two jasmine plants. And those jasmine plants stayed at that property that both of us, her dad and I, we ended up separating. It didn't work out in the end, but we went our separate ways. But the last that I heard was the two plants were buried in a mutual friend's garden and had become beautiful flowering. So she's there somewhere, in her.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, and she's in your heart, so
oh, always.
she's
And
always
my
around.
husband's and her brothers,
Yeah.
that's really wonderful how, and my families too. And my sister Hannah, one of my sisters, her one to her third child was born with Down syndrome, and we buried her just after or just before her seventh birthday. My lovely niece. So she knows the
The loss
loss
of a child.
too,
Yeah. And what it
and
does with you. Yeah.
yeah, and
And
you
it
know
also gives you a special connection because you both have gone through that loss of losing a child.
yeah.
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 Oh,
So it's not an easy thing to go through, and it's not something that you wish as an experience upon anybody. But it's beautiful that there are people like yourself and myself who can be there for a woman who is experiencing this loss,
exactly.
and needs to hear, yes, you're going to go through a process of grief because we are just human, and that's absolutely normal.
Yeah.
Um, but actually, you'll see them again, and if you choose to think of it. So I think that for me, this eternal life thing, that's the real strength here. That's the real story here. Is that
Yeah.
actually our loved ones are there to greet us when we go.
Yeah. So it won't be alone. But when I
Yeah,
pass away, my children are waiting for me and they're welcoming, and then we'll meet again.
yeah,
How that is an exceptional, great feeling and a thought. But before that, I have a lot of other things to do here on earth with my children in
right.
my heart and along me. So they are my power and my strength. And
And
if you
look,
can,
exactly. And your story has led you to be doing this. And that is the benefit for all these other women. And
yeah,
so bless your children for giving you this gift that you can now share
yeah,
with so many others. And,
exactly.
inshallah, God willing, help uh, other women go through the process, and the men, the fathers. I mean,
Yeah,
I lost contact with her dad after some time. So, but on her birthday every year, actually on her birthday, when I light a candle for her, I always say to her, how's your dad doing? Make sure he's happy.
yeah. But
Yeah.
there's only love, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, love
Yeah.
will remain.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for this beautiful and open-hearted soul talk, because I think that's it.
It was a nice
Um,
one.
yeah, and thank you for your time and sharing the story about your beautiful daughter with us. Thank you very much.
You're very, very welcome.